fucking, well, I win.
Because you resent the fact that you're becoming a white suburban person. You resent it. You want that Italian image from 30 years ago. Everybody wants it. We all want it. Why do you think we still walk around talking like, oh, this and that? Oh, this and that. What the fuck? We're just as white as the Mick next door. There's a difference between having balls and having heart. I mean, you have balls, you can do, you'll take risks, you do stuff. To have heart is to have character, to have integrity.
I mean, what do? To get my job, I didn't go to college. I didn't do that stuff, you know?
But you're always the easy way out. No insult whatsoever. No
the easy way, that's the hardest way.
No, it's not the high way out. You get to wake up at 1, 2 o'clock, you got to do one stupid thing for the day, and you can do whatever you want. The person who's going to wake up at 7 o'clock every morning to do the same fucking thing for the next 40 years is the hard way. You get to wake up 2 o'clock in the afternoon, throw on a jumpsuit, zip it up, slap somebody around, whatever you're going to do, and you make money. That's fucking easy. You go to school, you get a fucking name.
You can't play games, you can't do nothing with school.
You learn.
Well, it's all bullshit!
Hey.
What do you need to learn for?
Knock it off.
What do you need to know things for? Big deal.
Well, how are you going to get a job?
Need it.
How are you going to support your family? Oh, you're going to be a bum like a lot of people we know. I heard Christopher Taylor carries your bags.
Fitted shirt. She just won't.
Come on, it's bedtime. You've been a good boy all week.
Okay, now take on my back. You didn't even take on my back.
Good evening, and welcome to Dead Air Live. This is TV's longest-running cable access television program in the world. This show is produced by the Somerville Producers Group and is coming to you live from Somerville, Massachusetts. My name's Allison Pendleton, and I'll be your host for this evening. In 1974, Dead Air was founded by 3 men, Charlie Kelly, David Bigley, and Barry McQuilkin. Tonight's show is our 800th episode, which is an outstanding accomplishment. We just watched a preview of Sweet Dreams, an independent docudrama, and tonight we have with us Eric Latek, the writer and the director of that film. Eric is an East Coast filmmaker, documentarian, and visionary. He produced and directed and was the main contributor of that film. During tonight's show, Eric will be showing clips and talking to us about Sweet Dreams, his latest project. Eric has also brought along members of his crew and key film protagonists to discuss with us what drives a director and a crew to persevere through such a lengthy and unfinanced project. Eric, welcome to Dead Air Live. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's take a minute and have you introduce us to your friends, your crew, and the main characters of your film.
Yep. This is Mike Morgan. He was part of the crew. He also did the graphic design of Sweet Dreams of the post you see up there. Next to him is Dion Belletto. That's Gary's brother.
Hello. Next
to me here is Derek Fleming. He was one of the subjects, one of the main subjects. He's the fellow behind Gary up there with the former bookie. And next to him is Dino Audiello, his best friend. And he played a major part in the story as well.
Great.
So we have 3 of the key subjects, as well as Gary, or maybe I shouldn't have said that, but...
well, that's coming up, I guess.
Yeah.
So let me ask you first, how did this project come about? Where did the idea originate from? And how did you get involved with this?
Well, it actually came out of frustration because for years of trying, I graduated at Emerson in 1998, and I was trying to get scripts that I've written financed, and it was just a difficult battle trying to get independent investors to invest a few $1 million into an independent film. So it was just out of frustration. I felt like the documentary world, I didn't need this big crew. The financing aspect, it was just more like gunning it, trying to find a story. Once I found the story, it was probably more forgiving if I was a little bit sloppy with a camera or what have you. So that was the purpose. It was the idea of just being frustrated, trying to get money for fictional films.
So you basically weren't financed for this film then?
No. No, it was all, out of the pocket.
So did you try to get financing?
No, I'd say midway through the project, I'd say about 1.5 years or 2 years into the project, we had some potential big backers to continue the financing of the film, but that just never played out. So this came out of your own
pocket?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So how long did this documentary take, and why did it take so long? Because
Well,
I understand that it was a lengthy process.
Right. It was over 3 years, and actually I hate to say final cut because it just at this process, it doesn't feel like you're ever at a final cut, but I'd say our last festival, which was in Rhode Island at Riff, I actually had to cut it down to say an hour and 50 minutes because it's just been a process of trying to cut the film, tweak it down, tweak it down. We're also working with a big firm who sells out motion pictures theatrically, but they want it like at a certain time. And
can you tell me a little bit more about what that firm is, who that firm is, and what they actually do?
I'd rather not like name names just
Okay.
because we're not signed with them yet.
Sure.
We're actually at the final process. It's a firm. I'll just give you an idea. It's the largest firm for theatrical motion picture sales, and what they do is pretty much take your film if you sign on with their firm, if they accept you, because they only select a certain number of films per year. They will actually put like a bidding war out with the major studios, so we got Paramount, we got DreamWorks, we got Miramax, and this is what they offer. We went at them with this, and they came back to us with this. So they create the bidding war for the film. So if we sign with them, that's the process that'll take, but really they don't feel comfortable signing until they see that I'm willing to take it to the point that they feel it needs to be for when they sell it to the big studios, because the big studios are still going to label it a documentary, even though the approach to the movie was not really so documentary feel. It was more taken like a fictional feel.
Absolutely. Okay, so that seems, since you had such a long commitment of everyone's time, give us a little background on what it took, to do such a long, unfinanced project. What equipment did you use? Did you rent? Did you borrow? Do you own this equipment?
Right.
And then I guess that also gets into the editing process.
Sure. I started by myself in the beginning because, like I said, it was documentary, and the idea was that I could be solo if I needed to be. And I was just the type of person anyway who wanted to know how to edit, who wanted to know how to do animation, who wanted to know how to do filming, who wanted to know how to write. So I wanted to know it all, and I felt like that I gained the knowledge at the time that I started this to really take it on by myself if I needed to. Right. So at the time, I had shot for a few months, and it began with Derek. The thing with Derek is he interested me due to the fact that when I found out he was booking, I had known Derek since he was a young kid because he had grown up with Dino here. So when I found out that at the time he was doing this bookie thing, I just thought it was pretty unique and funny because
it's uncharacteristic.
Absolutely, because as you can tell, he doesn't look like too much of a punk. He's a soft-spoken, a good kid, very gentle type of kid. So it was just interesting to me to see what would happen. Like if somebody wasn't going to give him the money that they owed him, what was he going to do? Was he going to become this different person? Right. So I don't know what it was. I had no idea where it was going to go. I just felt like he was interesting. We'll see what happens. And it started like a typical documentary. I would do my sit-down interviews and headshot interviews, ask questions, and follow him around. And I thought it'd become more of like, you ever see American Undercover, HBO's American Undercover? I thought it might be an American Undercover type thing, kind of funny. And who knows? Great. And it just kind of evolved throughout.
It just happened very organically.
Right.
Okay. Well, since we're talking about finances, how did you get your crew to stay with you without paying them?
Well, they were my students. So, have students at first.
That's
yeah.
It's very
what
clever.
would yeah. Well, it was really nothing planned. What actually happened is I was teaching at both RISD and the School of Technology at Johnson & Wales. So, I would have people who knew what I was doing and be like, Eric, do you mind if I come? When are you going to shoot again? Do you mind if I come and just watch or learn how to use a camera or do this and that? And so, like, the door's open if you want to learn. Yeah, you're free to come and hang out. We'll shoot. And because I was really just following at the time Derek and Gary.
But what about Derek and Gary? I guess that's a good question. How were you able to stay in their lives without paying them, without offering, I don't know, did you offer them any payment?
No, because documentary really is like, we had no idea where this story was going to go.
Right.
And it wasn't like in a reality show where they're taken out, in the case of like a reality show where they're putting them into, say, a secluded area for like 6, 8, 10 weeks, where they're actually taking them out of their ordinary lives to put them in their own controlled situation. I wasn't doing that. I was just some guy following them around with the camera. Right. So it was just really, I need you to sign my release form and allow me to do this because otherwise I could get in trouble.
Okay, well, did you have any idea when you started this program, this project, how long it was actually going to take?
No, I had no idea because it just, like I said, it began as one idea, and in time I would just see the story evolve and evolve, and to me it was getting bigger and better, and I just felt like this is going beyond my hand. It's gone beyond my hands. I need to just follow this and continue to whenever I feel necessary to stop it.
I just want to go back to something you said, that you had your students working for you. What would you recommend for other people who are independent filmmakers, who aren't teachers and who don't have access to people like that?
The idea behind what had happened when I look back at it is I had students who were in my classes who want to learn what I was doing, and you know, like I said, my door was open to teach them while we were out there in the field, because I had gone to film school and graduated in 1998, but my biggest learning tool was being out there, grabbing the camera, and being in the field and shooting. So I felt like if people wanted to come along, students want to come along, you know, feel free. Here's a camera, this is how you do it, go nuts, have fun. Right. And in time, you know, we had a few sticklers, you know, such as Mike here, who ended up graduating, just really talented people who it became not about money or anything. It just became about the passion of the project. Right. And I was just lucky and fortunate to actually have very talented people, because my motto was like, what are your talents? What are you good at? Go nuts. Yeah. I mean, the poster looks beautiful. You know, to me, I love the poster. Mike just did it out of just off his head. It wasn't like Eric's here planning this. Okay, Mike, I want you to do this and that. It's like, yeah, just go nuts. Okay. You know, and that's where the beauty of this entire project came out, because it was just free flowing, no control.
Right. That's great. Just getting back to the characters in the film, did you ever feel like you were imposing on their lives? Because I saw a lot of like really special moments with Gary and his children.
In the beginning, I did, until I got to become close friends with them. Then no, then it was just, see, it was breaking that line that you're not supposed to do as a documentary filmmaker. As a documentary filmmaker, you're not supposed to get involved with your subjects, is the old school way of thinking. Right. You know, you got to keep a pros and con approach to your subjects. And my thought was, I'm not looking for this journalistic approach. I'm not looking for potential negative or this incredible positive. It's just like, I'm looking to tell a deep-hearted story of these people. They were, you know, my closest friends, and I felt like I could tell in the most simple moments that I've captured and make it feel important, because, you know, I knew it was important to not only the story, but to the defining who these guys were.
Well, I guess that brings me to ask a question to you all, specifically the people who were shown in the film. Did you guys feel like you were actually portrayed the right way? Was it embarrassing at all seeing yourselves on film and how you were portrayed? I guess I direct that question to you, Derek.
Yeah, it was tough seeing myself on film, especially kind of in not the most proudest moments of my life, you know, doing things like that, and actually seeing it on film is definitely tough. But seeing the process and seeing how it actually developed as, without giving out the story away, how I did evolve, and you know, it was actually somewhat of therapy watching myself on film, and it actually influenced me to go the right way and to make changes in my life. So it was influential to, you know, actually see what Eric can make positive out of the film in my life. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, you were somebody who I was really, when I was watching the film, it was just, you were such a different person. It was almost like you were playing a character.
Yeah, well,
but you really believed it.
Yeah, and seeing myself on film, it's funny just saying, what was I doing, kind of thing, you know? And having a 3-year process of this whole thing, it was a good development and process of going to positive. It was good.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I think you might have already answered this question a little bit, but this documentary had more of a film, had a look of more of a film than a documentary. And I think you had said that in the beginning, you wanted that, kind of like America Undercover, HBO.
Yeah, and the idea is like I graduated in knowing about film, and everything I learned was pure film. I graduated having the knowledge of taking film, putting it on a reel, and cutting it, and that's how I edited. I didn't have any digital experience, any nonlinear experience. So when I graduated, this whole digital explosion evolved, and I had to, get on the bandwagon and get to know what I was getting into as far as this non-linear editing, which I had no experience in, animation, and so on and so forth. So I had to get on the bandwagon pretty quick. So it was a whole new schooling that occurred. But the thing that I've always had a pet peeve about is film. And to me, it's like film has a different look. It's softer, it's more organic, it's deeper. And that's how I want my stories to feel. Right. Where I'm starting to kind of be more acceptable to video just because I'm watching so many documentaries, and so many documentaries are shot on video, and it's, and obvious. But yeah, I wanted that film look and feel. So before I started this project, I was looking into different types of cameras that would give that feel. And at the time, they only had this lens. It was called a PS Technique lens. It was like $12,000, and you add it to the camera. So I was ready to like invest not only in a new camera, but also with this PS Technique lens to give a film look. I mean, that's what I wanted. And then this DVX camera came out, the Panasonic, which shot at 24 frames. And yeah, I jumped on that. I did some beta testing for it, and I fell in love with it because for me it looked like super 16mm film that I've shot with for years. And I was very impressed, and that's what I ended up shooting it with. So, and not only shooting it like film, but also aesthetically, how to film my subjects and go into an event or a situation that I had no idea was going to happen or had any control over, and just be able to like not only capture the moment of my subjects, whatever may happen, but try and capture it cinematically, try and approach it like a fictional film in a way. Right. Aesthetically.
That's how it felt. It felt like more of a movie than a documentary to me. Good.
That's what I wanted. That was the point.
And it also helps. I've seen Gary on other film shows.
The Contender.
The Contender.
Yep.
So it was almost like I already knew him. He was
right.
Kind of like a friend or something. So I just want to ask, this project was so long and you stayed committed to it, but how did you, keep on persevering? I mean, after all that time, like, didn't you just want to stop for like 6 months?
At times you get exhausted.
Yeah. I mean, how do you
frustrated.
Stay focused? Like, what would you say to people?
No, there was times where it was just like, I need like a few weeks away from this because it's burnt out.
Yeah.
And I'm at the point now, like I said, with working with this firm and trying to get it down to sign with this firm and get it to that level of not just theatrical testing, but labeled with, the biggest studio guns out there. It's still a process I'm going through, and it's not over yet. And there's stuff I'm learning about the business every day, stuff that just doors keep opening as far as my knowledge is concerned in the business of it. It's like what I thought I knew yesterday, I'm knowing a lot more today, and so on and so forth.
So it's hard not to stay as interested as possible. So
right now I'm really just, we're doing a bunch of new projects. I'm really trying to start focusing on that, and it's like I still got to come back to this, and it's just not done yet. Whether it's tweaking this or tweaking that, I mean, it's a process, and you do get exhausted, and
it's almost like you have to just kind of dig down and find out, like, what is it you really want? What's your passion? And just go for it.
Yeah, it's like, came this far, I got to finish it.
Right. That's great. Well, I think this is a good time to show our next clip of Sweet Dreams. I don't know if you want to set that up at all.
Sure. Which clip is it?
You don't have to set that up. We're just going to go ahead and roll that clip.
I'll tell you about it after.
All right, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah, I was waiting for the opportunity, and as soon as I heard my opponent, I get right on him and attack like the tiger.
Well put, absolutely, positively. Definitely a nickname deserved. Now, where are you hoping to see yourself, let's say, like, in a year or two from now?
I see myself fighting for a world championship within this year. And we're looking for a main event on national television.
All right. Thank you so much, my man, once again. All right, coming up next, Shalise Manza-Young's got the skills to pay the bills. Keep it locked on Cox 3. We're coming right back at you.
Rat Pack, Sopranos, Goodfellas, Godfather, and Scarface.
Whatever it is, it is. They play how they want to play, you know. I'm the one taking the action.
I want to throw this question back out to the rest of the crew. Do any of you have something to say, have anything you'd like to say about the clip that we just saw, or anything about being on and working on a documentary?
Well, as far as working on it, you know, everything you've seen happened in real life. I mean, everything is actually there. I mean, we were staying there with these guys. They'll talk to you about the clips too, but I think it's just important to state at least that the fact that everything we did was very passive. We tried never to be in their lives in a way, even though we were friends. We always tried to stay in the background as much as possible. And by doing that, I think you get the look, the film-like look you saw before. And I mean, you guys can talk about the clip too, but as far as working on it, you know, it's just, it was very important for us to, you know, be friends, but also be in the background. And that way we achieved the film look like you said before, but.
Just being in the documentary was just fun. I mean, it was really fun having cameras following us around everywhere. At times it was a little weird, but I had a great time doing it.
And Providence, Rhode Island, I mean, obviously very local community, and I'm sure
everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah. Explain exactly what's going on.
Exactly what's going on. So it's almost like, in a sense, for a while, were you a little bit like a superstar, or I mean, that's probably a bit of a strong word, but I just wonder. I mean, having cameras follow you around, it does give you some sort of elation.
They had a really nice premiere for the movie, and that was a great event. And that night, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, we felt like
that one night of fame.
A lot of time passed too. I mean, you know, this is years and years worth of work. So I mean, we'd not film for, you know, months or so, and then pick back up because we're following their lives. And you know, cinematic things don't happen every day, and that's what we really try to achieve is the things that are going to propel the story. And so that's when we drop into their lives and try to capture it the best we can.
Great. So Eric, what was the reason behind this documentary? What was the message you were trying to portray? Because I found that there were a couple different messages going on.
Yeah, there's quite a few, and the messages weren't instinct. They didn't start like I had an idea, just stuff that I saw throughout time. And just simple universal themes I felt were obvious, such as trying to do the right thing. This idea, like Derek in the beginning represented, this whole idea of the Italian-American generation that at his age, a lot of them identified with this whole mafia image, and he was an example that was taking this idea of this mafia image and everything, but he didn't fit the suit. But I think he's just one of many kids out there who are trying to resemble that type of image. And
what about the boxer story? Because that unionization of boxing could have been the entire movie on its own.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
And so what motivated you to actually go in that direction and tackle that topic?
Well, you know, you could have made a whole documentary just on the union, and that would have been a typical approach, whereas like that was just one part of Gary's story. You know, there's a part of the family and part of trying to balance boxing, work, and then the union. It just creates a lot of weight, and the more weight you have, if you do it right, the audience is going to feel that, and they're going to feel the people you're either writing, in the case of writing fictional characters, or subjects in the case of a documentary. The union was important, though, because it was like that's a subject that's never been tackled. Right. And the idea of boxing is the idea of it being a dangerous sport, and these athletes don't have any protection when they step in that ring. And that became evident of being extremely important with one of Gary's fights.
Right. You know what, and I just want to bring this back to you, Dion. Gary's your brother, and so how do you feel about him being a boxer and the unionization of boxing and them having no medical insurance and the possibility that your brother could get hurt?
Well, the thing with my brother, you know, I used to box too when I was an amateur.
Mm-hmm.
We both boxed together as kids growing up. And he always stuck with it. I kind of worked my way out of it. I've always stuck behind him. I've always been in his corner to support him. And, you know, for most of his career, you know, he was invincible. But as he got older, and he's a very wise beyond his years. You know, he owns a construction business. He has a beautiful family. You know, and he does a lot of stuff. He's very smart. He's a very, you know, business-oriented person. And as you get older, it's like you don't want it like you used to boxing. You know, like a lot of fighters, like you've seen the Contender. A lot of the guys, they're older than my brother. They never had anything.
Right. There's just
because all they did was fight their whole life, and they never had a chance. You know, they never did anything outside of boxing. So that's their life. That's the way they make money. My brother has, you know, he's a great fighter. He always did it for a hobby. He started making money towards the end. The Contender was a big shot for him. And you know, he could. I don't really want him to fight, tell you the truth, you know. But if he wanted to, you know, take a couple more fights before he retires, if the money's right for him, that's one thing. But it ain't worth it for him for making peanuts, go in there and get busted up. And the whole unionizing thing, I mean, it'll probably never happen, but it's always a good idea because that's the only professional sport that isn't.
And actually, we want to go ahead and introduce your brother, Gary. Gary Belletto.
It was all bad.
This is Gary Belletto. He's also one of the film's main protagonists in this film, and he's going to join us on stage in just a moment. So as he's sitting down, Eric, I want to get back to you about the film. And who's your audience? Like, who did you make this film for? I know you made it for you, and you made it for, you know, your team, but I mean, who's your target audience for this?
You know, my target audience is, I think the audience, it really is everybody out there. I don't see as one particular group, but I feel that it does hopefully push a boundary to hit an audience now that is of this generation of like, you know, 18 to 25, 26 years old, due to the fact that, you know, the subjects themselves are in that age bracket, and I think many young men and women, if you will, can kind of relate to the story and relate to both Gary and Derek.
I mean, I'm a woman, and I related to the show.
Sure.
100%, or the documentary. It was uplifting, and you want it's an underdog story, and that's what you want to happen.
Thank you.
So was any of the footage staged, coached, fabricated, anything?
No.
Or was it all just really purely organic?
No, it's purely organic. I mean, I always say when Gary's taking the hits in the ring, he's taking the hits in the ring. The most purest moments as well that, you know, gosh, I don't even know where to begin to stage it, would be like Gary and his children, where, you know, it was always a tackle to try and when I would see Gary with the kids, when the kids would, like for instance, Gary Jr., anytime he saw the camera, he would go and moon it. So, you know, there's ways you got to do as a filmmaker to kind of get around that.
Right.
And one of the things is to be obscure and hide the camera and everything. So I really had to find ways of trying to get around the children seeing the camera, because otherwise they were just going to showboat, and I wasn't going to get anything. So, no, absolutely pure.
Okay, so what about this project would you have done differently? What weren't you happy with? Now that it's cut, it's final, or maybe for now it's final, What would you have done differently? Would you have focused on something different?
No. I know I captured the heart of what was important to the story, and the bottom line was just these two human beings and their story, and getting to the depth of that. So no, I'm very happy of what I accomplished with getting their story.
You're happy with the final product. It's not
absolutely. Like what would I have done differently, just aesthetically as a filmmaker? Is like sometimes you get lazy. If I was filming for a few hours, you would put the camera down, and suddenly you realize something's going on. So now you got to go grab the camera. And there was times where I missed some, I think, important information. Whether that important information would have made the final cut, I don't know.
Okay.
But
well. Yeah. Since Gary just joined us, and he seemed to be the main person in this documentary, how did you feel about the cameras being around you and your family so often?
You loved it. I loved it. I gotta say the truth. You know, it definitely took getting used to. I enjoyed every minute of it. Before the movie, you know, existed, I was ready to quit boxing at that time because of, you know, not so good experiences, you know, with injuries, and said to myself 5 years ago, why am I still doing this? Is this really worth it? Because I had other abilities and other talents, but I had something in me that wanted to get in the ring and fight.
Right.
And, you know, Eric filming me in this documentary, choosing me to film about my life and what's happening in it, and it pushed me to stay in boxing and try my best.
Right. Well, I know this is going to be a little off topic from the film, but since Gary's with us, I have to, you know, ask. I know that you've been on The Contender 2. It's on ESPN. Yeah. But what's happening with that, and where is that brought you with boxing now, for those who are a fan of The Contender?
Right. Well, after watching The Contender last year, I said, I wish I was on that show because I know I could do great.
Right.
And The Contender was an outlet for boxing that not too many people get an opportunity to do. Guys that, you know, are great fighters but never made that, you know, superstar money, had an opportunity to make money. You know, guys that are like in the top 20 and 30 all get to get the action that the guys in the top 10 are getting. And, you know, I had a great time doing that. Very similar to the movie. It kind of, like, I don't want to just box. I want it to mean more than that.
Right.
And, you know, Sweet Dreams, I would have quit probably a long time ago. And that kept me going.
Kept you on. It's great. Great. Back to Eric. As this film is, I realize there are so many different people involved in this documentary, and they were all doing different kind of things in real life. And how did you determine like what to capture? Did you just capture everything? Did you end up with hours and hours of footage?
It was just, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage, but it was just rather instinct. You know, always important was my guys and where they were at the time and what possibly could happen. So you're always second guessing the potential of when you walk into a situation. So it was just more instinct, just not thinking about it too much.
Well, then how did you, once you had all this footage, start sifting through it?
Well, I would sift through it throughout the entire process. So when I would go shoot that night and the next day, I would put the footage, go through it, see if I got something there. And that's where I would start to define if I had a scene possibly, or just maybe some B-roll, or if nothing.
Right.
So it was a process throughout the entire 30-some-odd years.
That's great. Well, I think that we are ready to run the clips from the next set. So we're going to go ahead and do that in just a second.
You can do whatever you want. You're really gonna go into the street? You're really gonna go into the street and fight with a fucking knife or a gun? For what? Because you can beat them. You can become a judge and put them in jail. What the fuck are you gonna fuck with them in the street for?
Ain't no one gonna take my name. I'm gonna fight till I fight. If you're gonna kill me, then you're gonna kill me. But I'm just gonna fight. Just fucking, I am the fucking, till I win.
Because you resent the fact that you're becoming a white suburban person. You resent it. You want that Italian image from 30 years ago. Everybody wants it. We all want it. Why do you think we still walk around talking like, oh, this and that? Oh, this and that. What the fuck? We're just as white as the Mick next door. There's a difference between having balls and having heart. I mean, you have balls. You can you'll take risks. You do stuff. To have heart is to have character, to have integrity.
I mean, what do I do? To get my job, I didn't go to college. I didn't do that stuff, you know.
But your way is the easy way out. No insult whatsoever. No
the easy way. That's the hardest way.
No, it's not the high way out. You get to wake up at 1, 2 o'clock. You got to do one stupid thing for the day, and you can do whatever you want. The person who's going to wake up at 7 o'clock every morning to do the same fucking thing for the next 40 years is the hard way. You get to wake up 2 o'clock in the afternoon, throw on a jumpsuit, zip it up, slap somebody around, whatever you're going to do, and you make money. That's fucking easy. You go to school, you got a fucking name.
You can't play games, you can't do nothing with school.
Hi, and we're back with Dead Air Live. We just watched a clip, and I want to talk to two of the people from the documentary and ask what their comments were on that. Go ahead, Derek.
That clip was of actually in Dino's parents' restaurant, and that was me and Lino talking. Lino was actually kind of joking around with me, kind of tell me in a friendly way, you know, that what I'm doing isn't exactly right. And in his eyes, he doesn't see the way I was thinking. And even watching on it now, I mean, he was right, you know. But watching it over again, you know, it's cool. But obviously, Dino would have something different to say since.
No, that's like, that was great when he filmed down there. That was like the middle of the night. Everybody was all fired up at that time, and you know, he captured some good stuff down there.
Yeah, I think what had happened is that was one of the first nights I shot.
Yeah.
And I'm usually in bed by 10, 11 o'clock, so they came back from a club, and they called me up. It was like 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning, so I ended up grabbing the camera, going down, and just sitting at the end of the restaurant and just holding the camera, and things were just going on. It was just crazy. It was just great happenings that were going in front of the camera, great talk, and
you couldn't have planned any of that, which is amazing.
It's just pure, you know.
Right. So you wore so many different hats during this production. Can you tell us like what different jobs you did, you know, how you did them? I mean, you don't have to get too specific, but just get an understanding of what an independent filmmaker actually does.
Sure.
Because I know you had a lot of help, but I'm sure you did everything at one point.
Yeah. Pretty much everything from naturally shooting and that to bringing in all the footage, to stocking it, putting it in the library, footage that I captured, bringing it into the system, naturally edit, any animation, I don't want to say animation, but animation simple is like kind of giving some cinematic titles, or there was some photographs I would kind of use in After Effects and give it some glitz to DVD output and everything.
Do you find yourself to be more of a director, an editor? What's your passion? Because there's so many different roles you can have.
I have a different belief system. Like I feel both directing. Maybe it's because of the situation of dealing with reality, but I think that directing. I wasn't really directing when I was dealing with the story. I was directing when I came in the editing room. When I sat down at the bench and compiled my story. Right. I'm not an editor per se. I mean,
but you did edit this film together.
Yes, I did.
And you were an editor.
Well, I guess in some ways, but I don't feel like an editor. I think maybe editors are much more technical and probably have more knowledge in the editing world as I do. Mine was just telling the story and telling it in a specific way that I wanted to tell it. So that's where my directing came in, was choosing the scenes, deciding how the story was going to flow. And
would you do a project like this again?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just a documentary? You would? I mean, is that?
We are. Yeah, we are. Yes.
Great. Well, you have to tell us a little bit about that in just a bit.
Yeah.
But what did you? I think you've already told us quite a bit about what you've already learned from this. But what didn't you like about this project? About the whole process, about the documentary process? What are you not a fan of? There has to be something.
Critics.
Critics.
Well, critics. I don't mean like professional critics. I mean like people, community, you know, that just don't want to see you achieve anything.
Right.
So it's not even about the process of filmmaking, it's afterwards. It's like that. It's just...
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting because that's a lot of the theme that's in the movie, or some of the themes that are in the movie, about not wanting, I don't know, just wanting the best.
Yeah, I mean, I never wish but the best for people.
Right, and you want that to be the same case for you.
But the one thing that I think everybody experienced after the movie started, like we had a premiere and, you know, when we started hitting the festivals, like, just people in the area that we knew that Gary knows or Derek knows, people that just don't want to see you climb.
Succeed.
No, that's what's aggravating, you know, that's frustrating. It's like, wow.
So why did you, is this your first major project? Is this your second major project? Was this more done for school? I mean, although I know you're a teacher, but...
Yeah, no, this wasn't, this was my first project to get out into the world. I had done an experimental back in college and a little bit after I graduated, but that was an experimental, not to get out there. It was just to harness my skills in a whole area of movie making. But this was my first legitimate putting it out there project, you know.
So this is more of this is getting back to finance. If you had a budget, how much would this budget have been for this documentary? What would you have spent?
I don't know, because my whole way of even doing regular work is working with tight budgets. So my dream budget would be like, oh, give me millions, you know.
Well, what was
like,
your budget?
I
mean, what do you think?
Whatever extra money there was, you know, in my pocket.
Do you have an idea of how much you spent, of like what it cost you to actually?
I think the
make
most
this
cost came out of time. I mean, your time. So what's your time worth? I don't know. I mean, do you put a price on that? But actual material, I think, cost more. Came into machines, you know, the systems, the programs, the cameras, and in that ballpark, you know, maybe for equipment and everything, maybe in the ballpark of like 20, 25,000, maybe.
And that's very inexpensive.
Very inexpensive.
Very inexpensive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as you were pulling this film together, did you have a lot of sleepless nights deciding, you know, what's going to go in the film? What am I going to cut out of this film?
It's
like, how did you decide, like, what's the most, like, I mean, because there's got to be so many poignant scenes.
Yeah.
In your raw footage.
It was obsessive. You become obsessed. And I've made many jokes to these guys about, you know, not wanting to ever see their faces again, because it's just a day by day, night by night. If I'm not watching them on the screen, if I'm not filming them, I'm thinking about them. I'm thinking about a scene I just captured or potential scene I just captured. And what am I going to do with this? How could this fit in and everything like that.
And is there any footage you now wish you had taken out or put back in?
No. No. The end of the day, it was there was some points where I would approach Gary or Derek on some scenes I was cutting that maybe gave too much information, that seemed on the level of potentially exploiting a situation or something that they said or done. And I didn't want to take that route. It wasn't about that. It was about trying to get to the heart of their story and showing a positive light to their story. So there were some times where I would show them rough cut scenes, and what do you think about this? I'm not comfortable with what I said there or what I did. I don't know. And we talk about it. And if it didn't, at the end of the day, it's their lives, you know, and that's where the courage lies, not with me.
Right. So just to bring this question back to Gary and Derek, I mean, was there anything you wish had been in the film? And then I think you kind of answered this, so were you comfortable with everything that was in the film?
I was, you know, that was me.
And what about your kids? Because there was, I mean, there was a decent amount about you, with you and your children in that movie, with your son saying, I want to be a boxer. And you're like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
you know,
it's very personable.
That's them to a T.
Right.
You know, it really is. And that's how they are still today.
Yeah. So
but
totally comfortable. Much bigger. Well, that's good. And what about you? Because yours was a little...
Yeah, it was, like Eric said, there was a lot of times where we did go back to the editing room and he's like, this did come about. This was on film, you know, what do you think about it? And I did walk a tightrope with this, a lot of scenes, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I always really say with the festival, and I'm talking to audiences, that the bottom line is these guys are extremely courageous. Extremely courageous. I mean, you think about the idea that they are letting not only cameras into their lives, but potentially to show anything wrong that they've done or imperfections.
That's a tough part.
And that's a tough part, you know, and to let me tell it and trust me to tell it, but tell it in the best light, it's still courageous.
Absolutely.
Extremely.
Okay. So did you guys feel like it was strenuous on your lives at all? Gary,
easy.
Derek, it was easy for you. What about you? Have family, Gary?
I didn't think about the strenuous at the time because I cared so much for Eric that, you know, whatever he thought, let's do it.
That's very nice.
Just put it in his hands.
Well, I think we are ready to go ahead and show the third set of clips that we have. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and run that, and then we'll come back with more questions for our director, Eric Letek.
Yeah, take it. Whatever it is, it is. They play how they want to play, you know. I'm the one taking the action.
You're not going to be a boxer?
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
She's a boxer or a hockey player.
The hardest thing to do is to take him away from his business and make him train. This guy don't want to stop working. Not only is his wife supportive of him, he's a great father.
You get to wake up 2 o'clock in the afternoon, throw on a jumpsuit, zip it up, slap somebody around, whatever you're going to do, and you make money. The person who's going to wake up at 7 o'clock every morning to do the same thing for the next 40 years is the hard way. You go to school, you got a mean.
If there's one thing you can't teach a fighter, that's to have heart. Bobby Tomasello had too much heart. He fell into a coma and had never awoken. What I want to talk about, it's a boxing union.
This is the first time a major organization that's been around 100 years in this country has said, we're going to help.
And what we're saying is the fighters are going to have an organization.
What are we giving up and what are we getting back?
The benefit is with the Teamsters, it's an open door. These guys can get a job.
If you don't want to do it, then don't.
Look at it now. What do we have now? Nothing.
You play a game, I pay you or you pay me at the end of the week, but it doesn't happen like that.
And I'm not going to tell you, you know, what you're doing is wrong. I had done it all you did and worse.
What if all this is going on and I can't catch up? And that's my fear right now.
This is a bridge that if you don't cross, you're never going to know.
But Gary, if you want to be a champion under the worst circumstances, you still got to be able to pull something out. That's what a champion does.
Welcome back to Dead Air Live. We're here with Eric Letek, writer and director of the documentary Sweet Dreams, and we're also here with his crew and other film protagonists of that film. Now that we just got finished watching that clip, I wanted to talk to Derek and to Gary, and again to you, Eric, about what it is that's going on in your lives, what's happening now for you. Derek, let's start with you.
I'm actually, like you saw in the film, still going to, can I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Still going to school, pursuing my dream. I like to be in the healthcare profession. From what you saw in the film, I was actually pursuing a career in owning my own business, and because I'm also a bartender, and I enjoyed the business of the night scene, the restaurant business, something like that, which I still like to do. But my main goal right now is to continue school and finish with a. I'm in the physical therapy program.
That's great.
And yeah,
that's your future ambition for now.
Yeah, for now.
That's
But like you see in the film, life's ever changing and you never know what's going to happen. So that's what's going on right now.
Okay. And Gary, what about you?
I'm glad to hear what he's going to be doing because I might need him in the future. With some physical therapy with the sport that I chose. What's happening in my life now is not much different than what you saw in the movie. I'm still holding on to this ridiculous sport I'm doing, and I don't need the box. I'm at a point in my life where my business is better than ever, and that's construction business. But I'm still trying to hold on to something, and I feel like I can do much more. And I have plans on fighting, actually, a week ago. And I just retired again this week.
But how has The Contender changed your life? Because I know that this is coming out at the same time, The Contender and this documentary, but it's in a way intertwined.
Yeah, very, very similar. You know, you want to box if it's going to be worth it.
Right.
Just like anything else you do in life. And so far it hasn't been worth it for me.
Okay.
Except for the movie and the contender.
Right.
You know, those things that I'll always remember.
But you're staying focused with your construction, your family, and just continuing on with your life.
Absolutely, and I'm doing what I want when I want and enjoying life.
That's great. That's great. And so, Eric, and I'm going to put that question back to you. You know, what are your plans, your goals for the future? You know, have we seen the best of Eric Letek yet?
Sure, absolutely not.
I'm
No,
gonna
can always
say
get better.
that.
So, always learning. Right now, we just got accepted. Our next film festival is in Australia. Wow. It's the Australian International Film Festival. It's the biggest festival in Australia.
That's great.
It's kind of like Australia's Toronto Film Festival. Like Toronto's a very big festival in Canada, so it's a very big festival. We're very excited. I just don't know yet if I'm going to be going for many reasons. It's just schedule as far as also flying.
Wow, yeah.
23 hours to the destination.
Yeah. You know, in terms of festivals, are you just going to keep submitting your tape over and over again to all the festivals?
No, I mean, I'm only concerned with the big festivals. The one thing I've learned about festivals, it's a business and it's political, and I've learned that ever more with this project. But no, I'm only concerned with the major festivals that are getting us big exposure with the media. Right now, my concern is, yeah, we have a bunch of festivals we're waiting on, but my concern is signing with this firm or with the potential studios we are talking to. The movies open great doors for me to really expose what I can do as far as a filmmaker, but I need this movie to succeed just because there was so much work and there was so much heart and soul behind it, and it's a beautiful story. And for what's out there today, you know, stories like this need to be seen and heard by people.
No, I agree. That's very true. So what is the one project that you've always wanted to do and haven't done yet, which I'm sure is, well, I'm not sure what that is, but, that's a big question.
Yeah, it is.
It's a big question.
I don't know. I never thought about that. Good question. Maybe we'll have to come back to that because I don't know.
Movie with Joe Pesci in it.
or you know, co-directing with Martin Scorsese.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's probably every director's dream. So yeah, it's
So
typical.
Eric, what advice would you give to someone who has an idea for a project but doesn't have the finances, connections, knowledge about how to get started?
Well, I just really pushed somebody into doing a feature documentary who was coming with me with the same question. And the idea was, well, you have a camera? Or you can get a camera. You can get a camera at Best Buy, you know, $200. If instead of investing on a weekend out or a couple weekends out, invest in getting yourself a camera. Editing software, you know, there's Avid, which you go the $100,000 systems, you get Final Cut, you know, you come down in price in Premiere Pro. The bottom line for me with like editing systems is just to say, hey, do you have a timeline to make your cuts and tell your story? That's all you need. You can do it, and you're at an age of technology where it's possible to do it. Everybody can really tell their stories now, and it's a pro and con, because now festivals and studios aren't getting 1,000 movies a year like they were. They're getting 8,000 movies a year because everybody's got a camera, everybody's got some editing software and a PC or a Mac, and they can cut and edit and send their work out there, and that's great. You know, but it's also
everybody's a filmmaker now.
But everybody's a filmmaker. Yeah, sure.
So, have you always wanted to be a filmmaker?
Yeah.
Since you were a child, 'cause I know this is what you majored in college.
Yes. Oh, yeah. But it started with like these gory horror movies. You know, I was like 7 or 8 years old. My parents thought I was going to be like the next Charlie Manson because I was just obsessed with like Fanglora magazines and bloody movies and gore movies, and I would draw like, you know, Hellraiser and all these sick movies. So, gave my parents quite a few moments of thought, but it started with horror movies, and I actually was going to RISD for years when I was a kid, just doing all different types of art, but also makeup artistry for like horror movies. And it started with horror movies, and it kind of fishtailed as I grew older into telling more important stories. But yeah, always.
Okay. So what are you doing now for work? Like, what's on your plate? And I know that obviously probably this is on your plate,
Sure.
But other than this?
Right now, we're in the works with SCATV doing a docudrama called The Players, which is also going to entail Derek and Dino and like 5 other of their guys. And really the pitch of it was, when we met with Spike, was the circle of friends who grew up together since junior high school, who now are entering into adulthood, where some are trying to hang on to that party and single life, and others are trying to move into a career and relationships. and it's a universal theme within any circle of friends.
But it is a reality.
But it is a reality, yeah,
show.
absolutely. And a movie with them.
Wow.
Which, yeah.
You guys must be very excited about that.
Yeah.
That's
and
great.
honored that
Yeah.
Eric just keeps on putting us in front of the camera.
Yeah. Okay, so what advice would you give to kids who want to be in the film business? And what can be the pitfalls of that? Because you just mentioned something that was interesting about festivals being all about money and it's a power game, which is interesting. So
Sure.
if you could say a little bit about that.
It just to keep your head up. You're going to face big pitfalls. But if you remain focused on if your story and your passion and this is what you want to do, or you've done a story and this is a story you need to tell, you're passionate about it, people will see it. It may not happen tomorrow, may not happen a month from now, but it will happen. You know, if you just keep trying at it, it will happen. It's been a long road with just this feature, and I've learned so much, you just got to stick at it and just keep going for it.
That's great. Okay.
No matter what anybody tells you, what anybody does.
That's great. Well, I want to just turn this back to Gary right now real fast, and I want to know what's going on with the Teamsters Union. We don't have much time left, so I just wanted to find out what's happening with that.
You know, we've been working at this for over 2 years, and it kind of came to a standstill, you know, because of the hard work and the ability to organize a sport that
hasn't been organized yet.
It's never been organized, and there's a reason for it.
Right.
It's
very corrupt.
hard to do.
Is that, am I wrong in saying that boxing can be a corrupt
I don't think
sport?
it's corrupt anymore like it used to be.
Okay.
It's corrupt in the way that fighters are put into fights that they're supposed to win.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much, nobody throws fights. I haven't heard of that since I've ever been boxing.
Right.
Oh, this guy lost because he got paid. That never happens. Nobody cares about that.
Well, that's good to know. And so we are going to show our last clip of Sweet Dreams. And I want to thank Eric for being here, and I want to thank everybody else for being here too. And we're going to go ahead and roll that last clip now.
Gary, come back with a body. Bend your legs, baby. Move your head. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, there you go, baby. Come back to the left.
You won't throw it at the jellyfish. Oh, you gotta throw something at the jellyfish?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Do that one, Dad.
Imagine jumping, you're like in the air for like...
Like I should have hit the water by now.
Danny, why don't you do it? Maybe you'll get lucky.
Hit a rock.
All these guys have got different contracts.
We're back with Dead Air Live, and we're saying goodnight. I'm Allison Pendleton, and this is Dead Air Live featuring Eric Latek and his crew of Sweet Dreams, and we're looking forward to seeing more of Sweet Dreams. We're hoping that it has a big release as it continues on. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're going to pay us $100 to get $101. And the only way it's going to get cleaned up if something's put down in writing and there's some structure. Because right now, it's a free-for-all. Everybody does what they want.
This sport can't change unless the fighters take the lead.